Any guesses, Nathanias?
We've had a lot of Terrans so far today. So I'm just gonna say probably not a Terran player. I'm gonna throw that out there.
How about... What about SK Telecom T1 Dark? Will that do the job?
That will be more than enough, I would say. One of the best Zerg players, if not arguably the best Zerg player right now in StarCraft 2. Well,
yeah, he might do the trick, right?
Yeah, I think that could do it. I'm getting so hyped.
This is just it's so weird just to cast this. Because, one, I feel like I have ultimate godlike power. Essentially, being able to pick these players. But secondly, it's like, why are so many great players in one place? And its name isn't GSL, you know?
Yeah, hey man, I'm feeling even just more happy about being able to come here and just cast and get to see these guys play and actually study their games. This is awesome.
It is going to be crazy, there's no doubt about that. It's going to be a Protoss versus Zerg. It is going to be a clash for the ages. It's a Pro League level clash right here, quite literally. SK Telecom T1's Dark. Man, I can't wait. It's going to be great.
This whole day, man, this whole day is like a second Christmas for StarCraft fans.
Well, I said they weren't going to see anything like this, and I wasn't kidding. To the southeast position, ladies and gentlemen, bow down to your current king. He finally manages to dethrone Pult after a $1,000 run, and now he's looking to take some more prize money. To the southeast position of New Gettysburg in the Blue Trunks playing Protoss, it is Samsung Galaxy Khan's Deer. Versus his opponent to the southwest position. If you haven't heard of this fellow, you haven't been paying much attention lately. In the red trunks playing Zerg for SK Telecom T1, it's Dark.
Such an awesome treat to get to see, especially a guy like Dark playing Deer with an exceptionally fast probe scout, seeing this pool and gas off of one base. But man, you know, Dark is just such an awesome player to follow because you have this weird, I feel this year, this weird setup for Zerg players where, especially in Korea, there's been some serious struggles against Terran, and more often than not in the old days when people were looking for like ways to like kind of figure out the Zerg meta or get some new stuff going, people usually look to Life, and he's completely out of the picture now, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
It's been hard to find another Zerg player that can push the meta and help drive things and show competitive games in times when Zerg isn't as strong as his drone tries to nibble on this pylon. But that's just one of the things I love about Dark, is he is still so damn good. He makes the other Zergs wish he didn't play just so that they could get more buffs.
You know, there are those players every once in a while, aren't there? And it's such a weird position that we find ourselves in, that Korean Zergs seem to be struggling a little bit, and then we see players like Rogue changing style and trying to show the way. But then we see European Zergs playing incredibly well.
Yeah, dominating their regions. Yeah. Straight up, just having
and we got a few of the absolute best in the show today, so it's going to be... What is this?
Well, cybernetics cores have a lot of health, TotalBiscuit, so, I mean, that's an interesting life choice right there.
Yeah, I would say so. Okay, well,
I think the last time I saw something like this was on Rotterdam's stream.
Cyber core block, yeah.
Yeah, well, ahead of the meta, I guess, as always. Blocking the natural with the cybernetics core is not something I could say I've seen at all recently.
Oh, man, it's blocked it down for so damn long as well. Obviously, the third base did go up, or at least that is the natural, really. You know, yeah. It's what would have been the third base. Now the hatchery can finally go up. But, well, Dia screwed with Dark's build order a great deal here. Like, it's almost like he's toying with him a little bit. The question is, you know, how effective was that? It wasn't a giant investment, really, from the Protoss player, right?
I mean, it's a reasonable amount of resources, but I think the follow-up gives you most of the power that you need, right? Like, what can the Zerg realistically try to throw at you this early on? I mean, some Zergs would go for drops. I actually think that the distance to go here is still a little bit longer than most of the other close-by air maps you've had in the past. This Oracle might end up coming to bite him in the back. Like, he could try to block this middle area, but if he realizes there's roaches coming, if he like cranks out a Void Ray, I think he just absolutely demolishes anything he throws at him. But an Oracle on its own may have a little bit of trouble The number of pylons is going to be key as well. He needs to recognize what is happening in terms of what units are being thrown at him, because the Oracle can also kill zerglings, but if he just sends that straight across the map, and these roaches or maybe ravagers just barrel down the front door, well, he could die very quickly. I mean, look, his mothership core is not even by the natural. He's like getting ready to take a third base.
Dark, I think, is leading him astray at this point, and that's key information here for Dark, and Dark's about to knock on the door.
I think we're seeing that. Like, he starts the Void Ray now, but I might just be too late, TotalBiscuit.
That's way too late. He's not going to be able to get that up. The power's going to go down, most likely. He does not have Warp Gate tech. The Oracle is doing very, very little, and Dark just busts down the door. Here comes the Mothership Core, a little bit too little, too late, and the amount of damage that's going to be done here by Dark. Dark is punishing Deer for that shameful display earlier in the game with that Cyber Core block.
Now, he can still throw away some probes. He's still ahead in workers. Yes. So this is not all over yet. He has Warp Gate now. He can try to get extra forces in to deal with this. That Void Ray is going to be crucial with Prismatic Alignment to kill the roaches off. He needs to focus down the living roaches as well. But this is still a pretty manageable position for Deer since he's ahead 10 workers and he didn't lose his natural.
Yeah, absolutely. And bear in mind that the Zerg player has been on 2 bases this entire time and is only on 19 drones. So Dark is going to do as much damage as possible to try and catch up. And you might think, you know, this should be game-ending, but it's not, you know, because Dia was so on top of his economy early on, and this counterattack by Dark almost had to be game-ending, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, he got a good amount done with it, I'll say. I don't like seeing the Prismatic Alignment used on the Ravagers because they're not actually listed as armored, so they don't take the bonus damage.
Which is a weird thing, isn't it? Most people assume that they are, and for a while they were, if I recall correctly, but
in the beta, Ravagers were armored, but they're not. So it's kind of like the Void Ray's bonus damage is wasted on shooting the Ravagers first, but they also have the Corrosive Bile, so they're maybe just a higher priority in general. So taking stock, 26 probes versus 23 drones. All things said and done, with the third base only just starting for Dark, those drones have to go a very long way to go to that expansion. It takes a long time to move queens between them. So I still don't think that this is the worst thing ever for Deer. He's got the Stargate tech he can still play around with. He can use the Oracle, build up the energy on it, and poke between the bases, stasis wards. Like, this is still anyone's game, I'd say. I like Deer's position.
Yeah. It's looking pretty good for him. You know, he has nice map control here. There's a few lings on the map, but not really enough to deal with the Adept plus Oracle at this point. This third base, or I guess the natural as it is under threat, so he's going to lose a few workers here and there, and Dark really can't afford that right now.
Nope. I mean, any drone kills right now, I would say, are really, really important. These Adepts are throwing their shade around, getting as much done as they can. I love the Oracle just parking it on the right side and basically saying, like, yeah, I have a safe zone for my Adepts to retreat to. You can't dive on top of them with your lings or you'll lose everything.
Yep, that's very true, and the Adepts have moved in once again to try and do some economic damage. The Queens should be able to fend these off, but not before a few more drones end up going down. And that means, again, the economic lead for the Protoss player is looking pretty good right now, and the Protoss is establishing the third base.
This is so nice, yeah. The third base, and think about it this way, like, if he really wants to, he could just drop a pylon on the bridge and just delay, just buy himself some time. Look at the worker count, 40 probes to 27 drones. Every single moment that he's building drones, he's not building units that can harass that third base. So it's just the most uncomfortable position I can imagine for Dark right now, since Deer still has the Oracle that can fly around. He still has the Void Ray to hold the bridge. He has all of these toys that he can play with, and Dark's like, well, I'm just kind of stuck right now.
Yeah. And I have to wonder, what do you do in this position as Dark? Well, he's going for lair tech. I mean, he's somehow got to establish his economy, but Dia's not going to let him do that.
This is, I don't think that that's going to bode very well for him at all. No, I completely agree with you. I mean, all of these sentries, he has a lot of force. It does feel weird to just see sentries on the ground, I won't lie. But he's got the Guardian Shell to protect the Void Ray. He's going to just block off the Queen. And he has the Oracle as well.
Lovely little pickup. The Lings coming in from the back here, and they're able to get into the mix and do significant damage. That's actually a lot of sentries being thrown away for not much gain.
Yeah, maybe he thought he was more ahead than he actually was.
Yeah, I have a feeling that he may have overestimated his ability there.
Yeah, I think that same exact push with like 3 or 4 Adepts. Just wait for like one more warp-in wave, and you should be fine. That's a little bit of a throw by Deer, I'd say. Get a little bit overconfident, perhaps. That's like It's like 700-800 gas just down the toilet.
Yeah, evaporated for a few lings for the most part, and he got a queen out of it. Dia's looking for angles here, but there's queens everywhere, and there's even a spore down as well, so he just has to make do with the revelation for the time being, just to keep an eye on things. Lings scout the third base, trigger off a few of those overcharged pylons, get a probe in the process. Dark is starting to get a bit of momentum here.
Yeah, just getting all those sentries is great, because just think about what can you get with all of the resources that he lost in that attack. I mean, that's enough for your Twilight Council upgrades. It's enough for all your Forge upgrades, your Robo and everything. And yeah, he's getting that, but I mean, he could have gotten it instead of the sentries earlier on. Like, he only needed a few at first to defend, and he actually rebuilt a lot of those sentries. He still has 5 of them. I'd imagine, even though we don't see sentries as much these days, on this map, they're still very important because of the way that bridge works. It's just a large area of space you have to protect around your third and your natural.
Dark gets in once again, triggers off a few of those overcharged pylons, just trying to get some probes where he can. He's not really getting them at the moment. Pretty solid defense here by Dia up to this point. We are still seeing that worker lead here for the Protoss player, but the army supply is very even at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important that Dark just continues to power up and head towards what Zerg's like. Getting the Oracle.
Surprise Hydras.
That's really nice. As he makes the move into Lurkers, that's going to be a very important thing that we see. As far as the army compositions go, a good amount of Stalkers are being added in. We do have Blink, and +1/+2 is coming in. Immortals are great at getting some tanking in. So maybe he wants to just try to make this an opportunity where he jumps on him before he has to deal with Lurkers, because we know Lurkers are great against pretty much everything on the ground. A lot of Protoss like Charge Lot, Archon, Immortal, but that is not the direction that Deer is headed in this game.
I like the fact that Dark is trying to force Dia to back off for the time being while he has the opportunity to move to this Lurker tech, because it will take a little bit of time to get those Lurkers up, but sending some Lings up to the 4th puts it under threat, so Dia has to back off. And now, well, the Lurkers are going to be done by the time any Protoss push comes.
And, you know, maybe he's just trying to play the map as well, right? Like, you have all this open space between the 3rd and the 4th. Maybe he feels that with Blink Stalker control, he can still play ball versus the Lurkers, just because there's no confined space for his army to be locked into, where the Lurkers' line damage can get maximum efficiency.
Yeah.
Although I'd still say attacking into a ball of Lurkers is very dangerous.
It's dicey, definitely, especially when you don't have Disruptors to knock them out, and there's no real sign of Disruptors coming out right now. We're seeing like a Dark Shrine coming up, and we're also seeing the addition of Charge and more Immortals, looking like trying to take out that 4th base. They should be able to get it before the Lurkers get into position. Lovely pickoff. I mean, Dia takes basically no damage from that, so...
That's really sweet to be able to grab.
Dark's trying to cut him off, though.
Yeah, this is really important because that 4th base is done for Deer. He doesn't want to fall behind.
Oh, hello! And surprise Lurkers, some damage done here, and Deer's like, oh god, I've got to get out of here.
There's no observer with this army. Like, you burrow the Lurkers and just go kill the 4th. Lings are in the mineral line of the 4th base. He's picking off all of the probes there. He's lost 12 workers in the last few seconds on top of the 4th as well. He's going to try to pick off a few more of these. But without detection, the Lurkers are very difficult to play around. He's just forcing him to attack into him.
Yeah, and Dia is basically trying to avoid the areas where he thinks the Lurkers are. He doesn't know that for sure. But he's run into a trap, and Dark has managed to surround him with Lurkers here.
Oh, so many Lurkers getting so many free shots off on this army, ripping him to pieces. And denying the 4th base. I think some of those Lings got into the 3rd and maybe
they did. Yeah, they finally got cleaned up. But now we see an economic lead here for the Zerg player.
We got a game, boys.
We do. Dark has pulled it back. There's a reason why we called him one of the best Zerg in the world. He's come back from this position, and things are getting wild.
What a sick game. No observer running around. The Lurkers he's basically just trying to play Minesweeper with these Lurkers all over the map. +3 attack on the way. He's got the charge lots now with the Immortals. The kind of force that can really just kind of run straight in and eat up those Lurker shots. But Hydras are great at killing those if he gets a little bit of time to shoot at them. So let's see what this Warp Prism can do. It's going to head in towards the main base. I'm guessing he just wants to distract him and pull him apart. There's 4 DTs in here, TV.
Oh, man. That is a crazy number. There is some detection here, but he's going to focus that down pretty much immediately. There's actually no Overseer in range at the moment. In the meantime, while Dark has to respond to this, Dia's going to try and make his way around the Lurker line. Oh! Nice little pick. He just gets a little bit of information about those Lurkers just before the Oracle dies. He's able to drive a few of them back. Can he get a good position here? There's so many Lurkers to drive into.
Yeah, but there's not much else to support them here, and that's the real problem right now as Deer continues to march into Dark's base. He's getting on top of the 30. He has 2 observers here, so he has all the detection that he needs. Drones getting pulled off the line at the same time. The DTs have ripped apart the lair. Zealots have torn apart all of the tech and the infrastructure inside of the main base, and Dark is on his last leg.
He is indeed. GG. The king remains on top of the hill. He takes his second map against one of the best zerg in the world in a wild game that could have very easily gone either way. Dia is successful.
Oh, what a sick game. Oh man, all these games have been so good. I really thought that Dark was in a position. I thought he was pulling it back. I thought he was gonna box that army in, and I mean, being able to escape with a good chunk of those forces was super crucial. But I mean, that Warp Prism was the slam dunk. He got the lair. He killed absolutely everything inside of the main base, and he's not being able to reinforce just hurts you way too much. That was very well played by Deer after he threw away the sentries and right before he threw away the sentries. But definitely one of my favorite games so far of the day. I love seeing lurkers used like that with no detection. It makes them really, really fun to watch.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. That was a crazy game, no doubt about it. Dia was able to stand up against one of the best zerg in the world, and despite some, let's just say, mishaps, let's just put it that way, he was able to prevail. He picks up another $250. The question is, who can stand up against someone as good as Dia? There are plenty of players still available in the roster. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll find out exactly who it will be. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ShoutCraft Kings. This is our current king right here. He has 2 maps in. He's very happy with the money he's won so far. He says he's now very rich.
Yeah, it's a good payday so far for him. 2 maps. I love that. You know, it's we have like the instant. We have the instant storyline. Every single game is like, who's going to pull in the most wins today? Who's going to get the big upsets? Already some very good money in for Pult, who was the first king of the day. And now Deer is trying to build his legacy.
At the moment, we have Dia and his opponent BMing the hell out of each other in lobby chat. It's great. I'm going to unveil his next opponent. It's going to be a very interesting matchup, I have to say. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. This guy is phenomenal. He's an amazing player, and he's someone that Dia certainly does not have that much experience with.
Yeah, he's had some very good tournament results recently, I believe, as well.
Indeed he has. He's Millennium's MarineLord from France. It's going to be very interesting to see how well this one goes down.
Yeah, I was just looking at the lobby chat you were talking about. These guys have been having some fun cheeky bants between them.
Yep, the bants have occurred. The question is, who will be the Archbishop of Banterbury today? We will find out very soon.
I love that he brings up his results against Koreans from like Nation Wars earlier in the year. He's like, oh yeah, this easy. He's like, I kill Koreans all the time, no problem.
Indeed, yeah. It's like, yeah, you remember like this time when I did that? It's like, yeah, sure. That's, I think.
And Deer's like, I eat you guys for breakfast.
I'm intrigued. It's gonna get very interesting very fast. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, to the northwest position here on Frost LE. MarineLord, good lord. In the red position, in the red trunks, indeed. He's thrown me off now, Jesus. Playing Protoss, SKT1's Dia. No, that's not actually true. It's Samsung Galaxy Khan's Dia. I apologize. This is all MarineLord's fault. He has ruined me.
He's getting us to loosen up a little bit here.
Clearly,
he's bringing out the Stephano BM.
Indeed, he is
on his own. The French players are livening things up a little bit, as it were.
That is true. To the southeast position in the blue trunks, representing the country of France from Team Millennium, he is MarineLord.
Already such a good vibe for this match. Starting things off, and MarineLord is going to take the very forward opening, going straight command center first. Absolutely no fear. I mean, it's a 4-player map, right? You're not going to do some sort of weird proxy build blindly, and unless your name is Haas, and well, Deer is quite a different beast than that. So I think this is a pretty okay choice by MarineLord. It shows a little bit of confidence. He's not worried in the start, I would say. So very interested to see where he's going to follow this up. If it's going to be a fast 3 racks, if he's going to go 2 racks into gas, into fast medevacs, and whether Deer goes for the style that we saw him use against Paul, which I thought was also very interesting to see with that very heavy Phoenix play with the Mass Adept of Sorts into Colossus.
It was, and I wonder, what do you do in a position where you're fighting someone that you barely ever get to actually play against? And as a Korean, what you generally see from a lot of the Korean players is they play a very safe style in that particular position. They don't want to get caught out.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, right? It's best of one, and I think, if there's one thing when people talk about, the whole, foreigner versus Korean thing, it's not just that, like, oh, okay, people don't applaud the Koreans for just beating them. It's like they usually beat them without dropping maps. Like that's like the old classic thing. But a lot of maps get taken these days in series like this, and it's like, oh, well, he beat Tasia in the first game, but then lost in the next 2 because naturally, these guys, they work on the holes in their gameplay. They get a read on how the foreigners play. But in a best of 1, like Deer has 1 shot to try and get an idea of how this game is going to go. And already, we don't see a crazy amount of command center first openings right now in Terran versus Protoss. So having a read on this, in my opinion, should be more difficult just because of that. Most Terrans are opening with like this really fast single Reaper, double Hellion, harass into fast 2-base, medevac stim timing. And that is 100% out the window. So very curious to see where it goes just because of that alone. It's just he's not playing the meta.
No, he really is not. What do you reckon to this, the Twilight Council being so quick here from the Protoss player?
Could be a Resonating Glaives build. I mean, with the War Prism coming in, I would say either that or it's like a regular Adept drop into DTs. There's a lot you can do with this. And I think Frost is a really good map for it because the main base just has so much space. We've already seen MarineLord, by the way, spread out some depots in his main so that he can see if a drop comes in. This is just very intelligent play. And yeah, there it is, the Dark Shrine. So you can follow this up with Resonating Glaze if you get any damage done, or you could just go blink and take a 3rd.
Well, I'm intrigued to see whether or not MarineLord's going to be able to handle it. He is, needless to say, living up to his name. He's got plenty of Marines on the map and more coming, and honestly, he can do so much with them. It seems like, remember when we used to say that Marine King Prime used to get an extra 10% out of every Marine? I feel like MarineLord is in a similar position when it comes to playing Bio.
There is one thing that does bother me a little bit from MarineLord with this is, Command Center first is good. Command Center first is great. Like, you get all this money going, you get your meals, you get your double SCV production very quickly. Yeah. However, the biggest weakness of it against Dark Templar builds is that your orbital commands are perfectly synced up almost as far as their energy goes. So you don't just drop a mule and then in 15 seconds drop another mule. It's like you drop 2 mules and then you die because you don't have any scans at all. So it's very important that MarineLord, with how little information he has, does not immediately spend all of his command center energy, or this could end very quickly. He has a single turret on the way in his natural expansion.
Yeah, currently we have a bit of a delay on the Warp Prism. Now he's warping in the Dark Templar finally. As you said, it is coming in there, but he's got scan energy. Like, it looks like he's playing pretty safe.
He's getting a turret in his main as well. I like this a lot. A lot of Terrans do this just so they can leave their base in case like a random Oracle shows up, but he sees the Prism. He knows that there's DTs now. Having the turret is really nice though, and I don't know if he has a scan. No, he doesn't, so he has to play around the turrets.
Yeah, so he's going to lose a supply depot. He's certainly going to lose some SCVs. Bear in mind, there's actually a DT in the natural as well here, so he's been split 2 ways, and that's not too helpful. Dia's going to get some freebies out of this for the time being.
I mean, honestly, this is an auto loss so often when you go CC first that just having these turrets, like, he's taking some damage. It's not the end of the world, but killing this many supply depots is really nice. Like, look at the production tab. He's not really building units at all.
There we go. There's the scan, and that scan gets 1 DT. There is no more scan energy available for the time being, so gonna have to see very careful play here by MarineLord. He lifts up some of his key buildings to make sure he doesn't lose them. But so far, not devastating here from Dia, but definitely an advantage.
Yep. I think this is just one of those scenarios where you can also make really good use of micro, like these non-combat shield. Well, losing Okay, I was gonna say losing both really hurts. Losing one is...
He lost the observer there as well, so that wasn't too bad there from MarineLord. He went for the aggressive stim forward. He realized what his opponent was doing. He realized he'd have a scan in a couple of seconds and went for it. Lovely pick off there by MarineLord. Great control. Did lose the SCV on the command center, but that's not too big a delay.
That's really smart. A lot of Terran players skip the turret on the production, but you know, I've seen enough people have like their tech lab with stim snipe to know that that's actually very good. And I like that you pointed out that he got the observer as well, so you can't see how many more units are rallying across the map, what else is being committed. And this is a pretty big bio army, but Deer has so many gateway units already.
He really does, yeah. He's been working behind this, and bear in mind, it didn't cost him that much to do what he did. He eventually lost the units, but it gave him so much time, more importantly, to establish that third base, and it's already saturated as it is.
Yep. I mean, it only killed 7 workers out of the 4 Dark Templar that he brought in.
But huge overstim here by MarineLord as well. I'm really worried for him here, because he actually only has 4 medevacs, and only 2 of them are with the army right now.
He's on the run. The Marauder count needs to get way higher to be able to deal with this. I mean, just think about it. He hasn't even finished the 3rd command center, so he has to turn it into an orbital now. And the Sentries with Guardian Shield are just so strong, blocking a lot of that damage from this army.
Yep, and that was a lot of damage being done to the Terran player. The Terran's stuck on 2 bases, bear in mind, so even if he does get the better end of this, the Protoss is going to be able to reinforce. There is a Warp Prism now reinforcing somewhat behind the line, but certainly close enough to be dangerous. And Resonating Glaives is about to be done as well. This is looking grim.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to pull his SCVs and just pray for a really nice engagement, but Adepts are so strong against those. You're going to pick them off instantly. I think Deer is just going to push the front door in on MarineLord now. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to hold this off. Liberators are going to come out. He's going to try to siege this to defend, but is it going to be enough? I don't think so.
Well, unless he can take those Stalkers down, it's not, and he wasn't able to kill the Stalkers quite fast enough, unfortunately. I think MarineLord is perhaps realizing that this is going to be the end of his run. 30 SCVs down versus 66. There's the GG, and Deer remains your king. 3 maps now on the streak, $750.
Nice, just that puts him 1 map away from Polt's run, right? And then we'll have he'll be contending for the King of Kings.
That he will. And who can stop someone like Deer? I mean, we've already seen great play against not only, of course, foreigners, but also against top-level Koreans here from Deer. So this is going to be interesting, to say the least. I am intrigued to see who could bring him down from here.
There's so many awesome players that like you, because the thing is like just as like you're saying again, like I actually don't know who the players are that are coming in, so I'm like out of the players that have been like hyped up and stuff, I'm like I can see some really excellent matchups that could pop up here as far as like what this could be. But Deer is, you know, I think we're seeing like he's just slowly getting into better form, right? You had like a little bit of the sloppiness against Dark, you had like that almost, you know, throw at the end of the game against Polt, and then now coming in MarineLord, he's just very tactile and just clean sweep, even with the DTs not getting, you know, the game-ending damage. They slowed him down enough that the follow-up was incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it really was. It was a big problem there for the Terran player being stuck on 2 bases for as long as he was. Yeah, the defense was pretty solid, but you're still then against the 3-base Protoss who's just going to barrel in with 33% more units than you have, and that can become a problem very quickly. So, decent effort there from MarineLord. A solid defense. You know, that's the annoying thing about that. He defended pretty well, but it's what Deer did behind that killed him. It had nothing to do with the amount of damage that was done, really.
Yeah, it's not like he took, like I said, I really didn't feel like he got absolutely slaughtered. But you know, the thing is, you spend all that time, you're thinking to yourself, okay, we need to defend. I need to defend this DT, push the prism back. And meanwhile, Deer's like, all right, 3rd base, get some probes, finish blink, okay, start resonating glaives. So he's just got all of this other stuff. He's thinking about the next 5 minutes, whereas MarineLord is like, okay, maybe I'm not going to die, but I'm just too focused on what's happening right now that I can't set myself up for the next phase of the game, you know? And that's what, you know, makes, I guess, a player like Deer as good as he is.
That is very true. Don't want to really mess around with somebody like that.
So, good run by Deer so far. Playing very well.
He is.
Excited to see who he goes up against next.
Well, we'll find out momentarily. We're just sorting out maps.
So many awesome games today. What map are we on now? Then is this like map 8 or 9?
I've honestly kind of lost track. I think we're on this would be map 8, I believe, since we had 4 wins from Polt, and now we've had 3 wins from Deer.
As commentators, it's impossible to get anything that has to do with numbers right usually. So I think even if it's 8 or 9, solid. That's a good range. Good range. But it's been some really phenomenal games so far. Like this has just been awesome to watch. I think every game has had, at the very least, those suspenseful moments, and getting these gooder and better players up against each other has just been improving so much.
Very true. Well, it's about time to find out who will face down the Deer. I find it difficult to find the name Deer intimidating, honestly. It's a bit of a problem, really, when you're trying to hype him up.
It's either you look at it as it's spelled, and you're like, oh, it's supposed to be like endearing, or it's like, oh, my love, and then you're like, you don't see it, you just hear like someone watching the stream on like just background is like, oh, it's like this guy's named after an animal. It just runs around on the streets and gets in front of your car, like no.
So how about the reigning DreamHack champion for the next game?
I think that could do.
He might be able to do it. Arguably the best European Zerg that is currently active in StarCraft 2, period. In fact, I don't think there'd be many people that would actually argue against the dominance currently of Nurchio. He will be the next opponent for Deer from Team Euronics Gaming.
He's been highly lauded by everybody in Europe that I've spoken to. And as we can see in the lobby chat, he's also very familiar with the StarCraft 2 emojis that have been added in the last big patch as well.
That is absolutely true. Nurchio's ready. Deer is ready. And the countdown now begins. Will Nurchio be able to knock Deer off the hill, or will Deer be the second player today to reach that $1,000 mark, that 4-map streak?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people here, you look at Nurchio, this comes down to that conversation that people have been having, as this year has gone on, with how much better the foreign players have gotten, and these top dogs take out the Koreans. With all the praise and all the hype that's been built up, I really want to see something crazy this game.
I do as well. To the southeast position, your current king of the hill in the red trunks playing Protoss. From Team Samsung Galaxy Khan, he is Deer. Versus his opponent to the northwest position. In the green trunks from Team Euronics Gaming, he is your reigning DreamHack champion. He is playing Zerg, and he is Nurchio.
He's just had such a good year as well.
He really has.
Outside of Valencia, the performance that he showed in Tour as well was absolutely insane. I guess it's just been like a cocking point this year, right? The European Zergs have been doing exceptionally well in a time where, I guess maybe not so relevant to this particular matchup, but Koreans in general have been struggling as far as Zergs go against Terrans. The Europeans have been excelling and thriving, I would say. So how this goes, I'm not sure, but already taking that hatch on the third base, like preempting the possibility of like a pylon block or something like that, I guess.
Yeah, that's an interesting decision, actually, there from Nurchio to grab that first.
I guess considering the threat of being blocked early on. I mean, we did see Deer build a cybernetics core in Dark's Natural earlier, so...
Yeah. And that is an edge that Nurchio does have now that Deer's played a few games. Nurchio has information on his current playstyle. And that is a huge advantage going into this, and the longer a king plays, the more exposed he's going to be.
There's more things to look at as far as where he made his mistakes and whatnot. And I think if you're Nurchio, I'm sure maybe he took a look at that game that he played against Dark, and you're like, okay, there were some seriously questionable life choices made in that game that maybe he can try to capitalize on or take advantage of in a different way. I'm sure Nurchio wouldn't mind if Deer threw away 8 Sentries of Void Rain and an Oracle into him at some point.
Well, I'm intrigued to see where it's going to go. Nurchio still not having taken that third hatchery. Deer's probably wondering where it is at this point.
Yeah, well, that's just like, could be just be getting into his head a bit, right? And Deer's just like, what is going on? I haven't seen your base. And now he drops the pylon. He waits until he has lings to go and
Yes.
take that base. And Deer, I imagine he was always planning on putting that pylon there. So I think this just goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where Nurchio's just like, he's gonna pylon block me. I'll just take the hatchery where his probe won't be, and then I'll just take it after the lings come out. So
Yeah.
I think that actually went a lot more smoothly for him than it did for Dark, because he's kind of centered his opening around it rather than being disrupted by it.
He was totally prepared for it. I don't think he skipped a beat. He knew exactly what he was going to do, and he was absolutely 100% ready. I mean, he's already got a bunch more workers than Dark had at this stage as a result. Yep. He hasn't overcommitted, he hasn't panicked or anything along those lines, so it's looking pretty good start so far for Nurchio. Very composed.
And we don't have that aggression either
No,
that we saw Dark use earlier with the Ling, Ravager, Roach attack. But Nurchio is a play that we've seen play out the long game. He's an incredibly intelligent Zerg player as well, so I don't expect him to do anything random off the cuff that just doesn't make any sense. Good Overlord pickoff by the
nice move.
Mothership Core.
Yeah,
Denying a bit of that vision.
Knowing that was there. And in the meantime, we've got a potential surround on that Adept, and that Adept is gonna die. So that's a lovely pickup for Nurchio. You know, just losing one link to do that, that's great. And that denies all map presence so far.
Yeah, he needs to check that third, and he sees, I think, that pylon on the way by the third. Oh, there's just a Mothership Core and the probe. I think he got the probe that wanted to build the third base, so he's aware. Because his Overlord saw there were no gases on the natural, so really he's like, okay, well, he's just going to be banking minerals, so it's probably a quick third build, and the third is on the way with a pylon. This Oracle's looking for an opportunity to get some damage done, but so far, nothing.
But this is what I love about what Nurchio did. Like, it's almost like, and he probably did predict that this build was coming, which at this stage, well, the Oracle's generally going to hit that most exposed base right there with the Void, but there's actually very few workers there to even kill. But it's a double Oracle push this time, and with only a single Queen defending, some damage is going to get done anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty cheeky. I mean, he gets 5 drones, and this immediately sets off a couple of alarms. It should, at least for Nurchio. Is like, oh, okay, I need to be a little bit cautious. How crazy is this going to get? Is there going to be anything else that's going to follow this up along these lines? From what we can see,
double
not
lair from Nurchio.
That's weird too.
Yeah, that's not usual as far as I'm aware. Oh, this is going to be a nice little pick-off. He gets the Oracle for free.
I don't think
that's deliberate, but I've got to say, look how great a catch that was there from Nurchio. He grabs the Adepts on the way in. They were supposed to come in with the Oracles, but Nurchio preemptively attacked the Oracles while they were out of position, and he was able to gain map control in the process.
Yeah, I think that was really nice. And he also, by the way, he did cancel the second lair.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, that's unusual.
He's like, I actually do not need 2 lairs.
No, there is no real tactical reason for that. In the meantime, the Lings are going to try and find their way in, and one does.
So close.
Ooh, yeah, if he'd slip by.
Just that extra bit of DPS on the Zealot to break it down a little faster, that helps in a big way. And Sentries do get warped in to try and help deal with this, so... +1 Ling attack is on the way. Hydralisk Den's about to finish. I'm wondering if we're going to see, or when we'll see, if it happens, the Baneling Nest as well. Ling Hydra Bane is certainly something we've seen a lot of in ZVP. Ling Bane in general. And then, of course, Lurkers are also very good units, too.
4th base going down here for the Zerg player, and keeping up very much so with the economy of D. I mean, no suicidal charge that we saw out of Dark. You know, much more reserved approach, a much more defensive approach here from Nurchio, but he's keeping his opponent honest as well. You know, he's not just going to sit there and build. He's going to send units across the map. He's going to force Deer to defend.
Looking at the way that everything is set up, Roach Warren follow-up, it's just both players just powering up, getting ready for the mid-game to get some work done, as it were. I expect to see the Lurker Den when this Muscular Augments completes for Nurchio. I don't think he's just going to play off of that. Although I am surprised with the number of Lings he's building. It looks like there's still no sign of any interest in going into something like Banelings. So it's just Lings for either drop harass later on, or as the meat of his army to actually try and kill most of this off, which could do very well with the number of Sentries and Stalkers.
Yeah, it absolutely could. You know, and Nurchio has a pretty damn scary army right now, and I'm not 100% sure that Dia realizes how big this army is. He certainly does now. He just dropped that revelation down, so he's keeping track. But the Lings slipped by in the process.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to head over towards the 3rd base. What do we have here? Big Zealot warping at the natural. A lot of overcharges and photon cannons. So nothing he can really do there as far as getting damage done. He gets a little bit of information, but for the most part, nothing crazy can happen yet. Second robotics facility on the way, Robo Bay. So I'd imagine disruptors are a very good choice against lurkers. I would be surprised if he went for Colossi, as the lurker does not get outranged by it. So
interesting to see Nurcio move out when he knows his opponent can see it. I have to wonder if he's trying to bait him into something here. It looks like he's just going to knock down the back rocks, maybe threaten that. Hydra's now working on it.
So as he works on these rocks, the War Prism is making its way up the west side of the map. So it is going to be Colossus. Okay. So, I mean, I'm guessing a Colossi, I think, are great against the Ling Hydra part of this. But this back flank is going to be really nice. Without charge, the Zealots are a little slow to the fight. But look at this. There's no vision in the bottom left of the main for Nurcio. So this Warp Prism could get some catastrophic damage done if he's able to get in there, warping a round or two before Nurcio even realizes what's happening. And I mean, look, his army's revealed. He can't just break this force field.
No, I don't think so. I mean, he's going to be able to rain down a lot of fire with those Hydras and kill some stuff, but the longer he waits, the more Colossi are going to come in. We have that warping, as you mentioned. There's a couple of Lings that have actually come to try and clean this up, but there are now 6 Zealots in the main. This is actually a little bit more than I think Nurcio was anticipating. Some damage is going to get done here.
With those attack upgrades, the Zealots also kill the Lings in 2 shots.
They do.
So they rip them to shreds in the open. The lack of charge, I think, still hurts a lot, because charge is more than just mobility. In Legacy of the Void, you have that 8 damage upon impact, which is crucial for whittling down armies as well.
That definitely matters, but currently the worker count is still very strong for the Zerg player, and the army supply still remains ahead here for Nurcio, if you can believe that. I mean, they both have huge armies at this point.
Yeah, this is such an interesting army composition. The way that he's setting himself up for this, like, Sentry Zealot, I mean, eventually Charge Zealot, but the Colossi that he's building, just going into Colossi is something that I haven't seen this in PvZ in quite a while, and I imagine that you have the Zealots and everything just run up, tank all the damage from the Lurkers, the Colossi fry everything else. Like, they'll wreck these Lings, so
yeah, absolutely.
That's one thing they're still good at in Legacy.
I mean, they're going to probably wreck the Hydras as well if they get good angle shots off on them. The Lings are actually getting shut down here. Dia's able to catch them, and not really much going to be able to be made of that other than mincemeat.
Yeah, straight into the blender for those.
Yep.
There are 30 Zealots on the map, so this is pretty crazy. And now I'm thinking about that Baneling nest, and I'm like, Baneling's not great when Colossi are on the map, but there's so many Zealots.
There's a lot of Lurkers as well, though. I mean, you've got to bear that in mind. There's a big army now swinging around. This is going to be a bit weird, because currently Dia's trying to slowly work his way through the defense of the 4th base, but there's actually a huge strike force moving towards the natural.
Insane counterattack. So many Hydralisks here for Nurcio. Cannot get in range to actually overcharge that. And these 2 Colossi are actually backed up against his own base.
One goes down, the second one's about to fall here as well, although Nurcio does lose quite a few Hydras in the process. In the meantime, the attack hitting the 4th base of Nurcio.
Oh my goodness. So the Hydralisks are all over this natural expansion now, ripping apart probes and gateways alike for Deer. But what can Nurcio get back home? I mean, I guess he just has to try and crank out as many Lurkers as he can defensively, just to try and buy himself as much time for this quasi-base race that's happening.
That could work, right? Because, I mean, it's going to be such a slow advancement for Deer. If he charges it in the middle of a Lurker trap, he's done for. Nurcio is hammering him down right now. Another Colossus pops out. Quick response there by Nurcio to try and bring him down. He actually isn't even going to lose that Lurker in the process. Deer's falling to pieces right now.
Yeah, this is really crazy right now, because he's also moving into the Corruptors. Picking off this base is so important. Deer has money in the bank, but he's either going to rebuild his bases or he's going to try to get a little bit more army out to attack. But doing both at the same time is going to be pretty tricky for him, and he does clean this up, but the Hydras get in.
Losing a lot in the process, but like the Protoss lost so much. Bear in mind, he's just got another base up right now. There's Hydras now moving there immediately to do damage to it, with Lurkers to back them up as well. Nurcio realizes he's got Dia on the ropes, and is going to capitalize. If he takes this base out, there's basically no money for the Protoss.
No, I mean, some of these Colossi are still very weak. That one up front has super low health from
There's a Corruptor in the mix, too. That could just pick it off.
Yep. I mean, just look at the anti-air capabilities. They're grossly limited, because everything needs to be built to deal with the Hydralisk count right now, and the Lurkers.
I mean, people keep saying, look, the European Zergs know what they're doing. I think this is proof positive of that. Like, Dia is getting dismantled at the moment by just incredible strategic decision-making here.
Yeah, such a great tactical choice to go for this big counterattack while setting up the great static defense at that center base and just baiting him into him.
Yeah, this is some great play right here by Nurchio, no doubt about it. Dia is able to push these Lurkers back for the time being, and of course the Hydras are in a pretty bad position. They're going to get roasted, but economically, the Zerg can afford this.
Yeah, I mean, he pulls the whole army to the left side, but he's killing the northeast base.
Yeah, that base is going to die. There's no response.
Yeah, it was a perfect bait play. I mean, he lost a lot for it, but I think he kept the Lurkers on the west side alive, so his army is still tremendous. And now these Corruptors are basically going to allow Nurchio to say, okay, I don't have to slam the gas pedal against those Colossi as much anymore, because my Corruptors are going to destroy those, and then my Lurker Hydra Ling Force can deal with everything else.
Yeah, at this point, it's like, just don't make any mistakes, you know, because you've got Deer on the ropes. Don't screw up, don't lose to a bunch of harassment, and don't throw units away, and you're in a great position here.
And so he's going to push up towards this middle spot. Very awkward to step through this because of the Spore Crawlers and the Lurker support.
Nice storm, though. Nice double storm, actually. Nurchio loses all his Corruptors to that. That's not great.
Yeah, that was really good focus fire by the Archons onto the Corruptors as well. Archons just do so much damage to biological units. So clumping those Corruptors, less than ideal. However, the economy is still, I'd say, quite a bit better for Nurchio. So all he really needs to do is just buy himself more and more time. Look at this Ling counterattack coming in. A bunch of probes exposed.
Oh, yeah, and damage is definitely going to be done here. They will not get their cake home today, I'm afraid. And that's long-distance mining. That's not good at all for the Protoss player. Losing probes, and he certainly can't afford to lose them right now either. And that's not a big throwaway, even if all those Lings go down. That's affordable for the Zerg player.
Yes. Well, buy some time, right? And look, the whole army moves away. So he's like, oh, well, now I can just chill. And somehow during all of this, he was able to squeeze out a hive. And I think Vipers are going to be incredibly tricky to deal with because, well, the biggest thing that he has going for him are the High Templar, but he's actually making Archons now. So the 4 Templar with the army, those feedbacks are going to be absolutely crucial to dealing with this. He's going up to Greater Spire. Broodlords, I think, are like the GG button you get against this. There's no economy to go into Tempest right now. So he's just really hoping he can force this army to fight into Storm and Archons.
And why would it? Like, why would Nurchio ever engage down that ramp at this time? Like, he already knows his opponent is economically crippled. It makes no sense to do that. You can just pick away, you can build your Broodlords, and then the Protoss army can't fight at all. They can't fight into Lurker, Broodlord, Viper. That's insane.
You can see the desperation for Deer, though. He's like, I have to expose myself by moving out under creep like this because otherwise, he's had the money. He has the money. He has the money and the time. And if I give him both of those, he will build an army that will just absolutely destroy me.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, Dia's playing StarCraft 2 and Nurchio's playing Nexus Wars. And this is not going to go well. Oh my god, the surround! Nurchio's getting in there with a huge number of Lurkers. They do get stormed, but the damage is done already. And the Protoss army is bottled up in a corner and getting ripped to shreds.
The Colossi are down. The Hydralisks can play a little bit more. The Storms have been exhausted. It's just a few Archons and a handful of Gateway units. I mean, this pretty much game. Like, what else is he going to be able to do? He's warping in Zealots and Immortals, but, I mean, Hydro Lurker can deal both of those more than capably.
Yeah, it really can. And yeah, you saw an uneven trade there, no doubt, but the Zerg can afford to take that trade right now.
I love the Blinding Cloud instead of the Abduct, because all I was thinking about was the Abduct, but the Blinding Cloud to stop the army from moving on the Corruptors was also absolutely huge, because it buys you just that little bit of breathing room you need against the Archons. Then the Colossi are dead, and then everything else just collapses on top of Deer.
Oh dear. Well, Nurchio has got to still, take it home. He's not there quite yet, but oh god, those Zealots just got shredded. More Lurkers coming into the back.
Okay, the Observer does show up now.
It is there now, yes, but the Archons are now getting focused down. There are very few units left here for Deer. There are enough Lurkers to push those Immortals back. Corruptors are right on top of it. And yeah, Nurchio, yeah, he is. He's totally broke. That's the thing. Like, yeah, Nurchio spent a ton of units to make this happen, but he can kind of afford to. Nurchio
has what we call an income.
Yes.
GG!
GG. He did it. He did it. Nurchio dethrones Deer, which is not that is not a small feat by any stretch of the imagination. Oh. Incredible performance by Nurchio. I am super impressed with him. There's been a lot of hype around Nurchio lately. I will say that it is all absolutely deserved at this point.
Yeah, that was an awesome game by Nurchio. I mean, the way he sets himself up in the middle, he gets that whole big death ball outside of his base. He's like, well, this is a part where if I was gonna go full foreigner, I would just die a horrible, painful death, engage down this ramp, have 4 Archons, one shot my whole entire army in a blazing ball of fire. But he's like, no, I'm gonna go for this counterattack, run all these Lurkers and Hydras around his army. And kudos to that for being able to finding the room to do that without being spotted. That is exceptionally difficult as well. And just getting that position where he forced him to choose to base raid, which is so difficult to do. And I also just saw, like, as the delay kicks in for the stream, yeah, the Blinding Cloud was on top of all the Archons. That really helped those Corruptors get right on top of the Colossi. Such a smart play by Nurchio.
Absolutely. I do not disagree with you in the slightest. Nurchio dethrones Dia. Dia walks home with $750. Not too bad at all, but now the King of European Zerg will challenge all comers. We'll find out in a few minutes who his opponent will be here on ShoutCraft Kings. Still plenty of great games and awesome players to come. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ShoutCraft Kings right here on twitch.tv/TotalBiscuit. The ultimate StarCraft 2 King of the Hill has certainly given us some great games so far.
Yeah, this has been really, really sick. Like every single game has been so good. We've already, just in the last series or the last map, we've seen the upset of the top European player against Deer of all people. Just an absolute monster in Korea, in Pro League, in GS Celesticel. And now will attempt to continue his reign over the ShoutCraft Kings domain.
Indeed, $250 a map is what he's playing for. Not messing around, big money on the line. The question is, who could take down someone as good as Nurchio, the King of Zerg in Europe? Who could it be? Well, I have a couple of ideas that might work. Let's find out, shall we? Well, I screwed that up completely. I just brought the thing up and forgot to put the unveil. It's like, okay, I guess Gumiho, guys. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have my little unveil box up, which usually takes about 10 seconds to go away. I'm like, who could it be? Oh, yeah, it's Gumiho. MVP Gumiho will be the next player.
Gumiho's like one of my favorite players in StarCraft 2. He's always such a... Of the Korean players to watch, he's probably one of the most unique in terms of he comes up with a lot of his own build orders that maybe he'll play the same style, that everyone's doing. He won't like go mech randomly, but he'll do some different opening that maybe you hadn't considered as being strong, and he'll make it look really good. And I just love that he doesn't always restrict himself to the most standard cookie cutter styles, even though he's certainly capable of doing them. His games are always very fun and exciting to watch, in my opinion.
Yep, I could not agree more. It's going to be a very fun matchup indeed between these two. Gumiho is always a treat to watch. Nurchio is, of course, rolling right now after a incredibly strong and some would say upset victory, but I think a lot of the European fans would probably say, no, that was actually an expected result.
Yeah, with how good he is, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised to see S coming out here, and hopefully we get a couple more good games out of him as the day goes on.
That'll be great to see. Ladies and gentlemen, his challenger to the northwest position wants to quickly dethrone our new overlord. We'll find out whether he can. From Team MVP in the red trunks, playing Terran, he is Gumiho. Versus his opponent to the southeast position, the newly crowned king of both Europe and ShoutCraft Kings, and the reigning DreamHack champion. In the green trunks, playing for Team Euronics Gaming, he is Nurchio.
Such good games so far today. This has really been awesome to watch. I've been loving every aspect of this so far, and very excited to see, especially because now we've answered the first question. All right, can one of the best Europeans, the most recent European champion, beat a Korean? Yes. Okay. In best of one, people make up their excuses. I thought the game was brilliant, but now I want to see the Korean Terran against the foreign Zerg, because that's the other big discussion that a lot of people have been talking about. They're saying, oh well, the European Zergs, they build a lot more queens versus the Terrans. They have better styles that allow them to get up to the hive tech more easily. And a lot of people are saying like, no, it's all different. But I'm very interested to see if Gumiho goes for those styles that a lot of Terrans have been using against the Zergs with the sharp 2-base timings and those aggression, because that's how they've been dominating in Korea, and that's what led to the Queen buff that they recently got. And I'm wondering if that's still going to continue with that trend, or if Nurchio is going to show up and be like, look, I'm going to treat you like any European Terran, and I'm going to stomp all over you.
Yeah, it is very possible. Bear in mind, we're not in a LAN environment, and that means that there is a degree of delay. We obviously pick the server, which is optimal. So right now, both these guys are dealing with the same amount of latency. But that does mean that that standard Korean Terran style of my APM is about 3,000, and I'm individually controlling every single Marine when I have 120 of them. Not necessarily as effective, you know, but you've also got to bear in mind that the precise, say, Baneling control or Mutalisk control required of a Zerg player is also a little bit trickier to do. You know, online tournaments, they play a little bit differently to offline LAN, and if all you're really used to is offline LAN, then that can throw you a little bit.
Yep, I think that's one interesting thing to consider with a lot of the, I guess, Caspa players that you bring in here. You know, we don't get to see them even in tournaments like this all that often, where someone like Nurchio, who plays in offline tournaments, also plays in a lot of online tournaments as well. So
it's a skill set.
I agree. It's a bit of an adjustment that the Korean players have to make to some extent, but I mean, they all play insane amounts of games every single day online, so probably the latency is the biggest factor that plays into it, but I mean, it's all the players have to deal with that to some degree. Of course,
you know, it is an online game at the end of the day. If you can't deal with that, well, probably shouldn't be playing StarCraft 2, because there's a decent amount of money in online tournaments, and Gumiho knows it because he plays a lot of online events. You know, we see him in Olimo League, we see him in Lee Fan Cup, and he loves to play those events, and he'll pick up wins here and there. You know, he's a bit of a monster online, so I don't expect him to get thrown by this environment at all.
Nope. So far, it's that single Reaper into the Hellions, and classic. The Hellion follow-up. Yeah, this is super normal. And I actually like this. A lot of Koreans have been doing this, where they build the second Reaper after they swap to the factory for the reactor, so that they can just have that little bit of extra sustain, because the Reaper health regenerates, and you can kind of just rotate them back and forth, and throws the grenades, pulling the Queens out, trying to get a lot more damage done early on against them. And at the same time, while all this is going on, we have the Banshee follow-up, another thing that's become very popular since the Queen buff.
That is very true, and I love the way that those grenades were used. The first one to knock the Queen, but the second one behind the Queens, knowing the Lings were coming to reinforce. So that meant that any attempted surround was shut down, and one Queen just got roasted. Second one looks like they might go down here as well. Nurchio is having difficulty holding this.
He's going full savage with these Hellions and this Reaper. I mean, this third base, okay, yeah, maybe you take the gold early, but if he comes back with any sort of sustained push, he's going to knock that down so fast. Like, you won't believe, and still actually cranking out a good amount of Hellions. Is he going to take more gases? Is he going to go mech in this game or something like that? Going
would
double
not surprise me.
Liberator follow-up? This is why I love to watch Gumiho, because he really does play his own brand of Terran in StarCraft 2.
You just don't know what to expect. And Gumiho now moving in with a Banshee. It does not have Cloak. But the thing is, the Queen count is much reduced. You know, he's about to get back up to 3. And of course, he's got to deal with the Hellion pressure as well. You know, this is not a lone Banshee. This Queen is going to most likely die. And it does.
Yeah, and now that the Queen is dead, I mean, the Banshee could just pick off drones. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even mind once these drones are gone if it just worked on the hatchery, because it's just so damn low as well. And Liberator's coming up, more Hellions, their command center is almost ready. He's starting up an armory back home. Meanwhile, Nurchio is just about to finish the lair. And he's been taking some serious heat so far in the start of this game. It's nothing game-ending, it's nothing catastrophic, but Gumiho is building momentum for his follow-up attacks, for his follow-up aggression. He's getting a lot of work done.
Yeah. But Nurchio isn't a player that panics. You know, Nurchio is so calm and collected. It's weird thinking about it, because I followed Nurchio throughout his entire career, quite literally. You know, I was casting him in the beta. You know, I was casting him while he played Protoss. You know, played random for a while. And he has developed so much, both as a player and as a person. You know, he used to get easily angry. Now he is a calm, collected, incredible decision maker.
Great defense on that attack, by the way.
Yeah, that was excellent.
That Liberator pulled in a little bit too close to the Spore Crawler there. Definitely helped a lot. And we have ship weapons is the first upgrade of the game for Gumiho. So maybe he's not thinking about as much a factory-based mech, but maybe he's just going to drop like 3 more starports in the next minute or two and just play Hellion, Liberator, Banshee, some crazy madness. He's taking even more gas. Okay, another factory on the way.
Yeah, so he's sort of playing a weird hybrid mech style at the moment. Either he's forgotten that shit weapons are no longer combined with vehicle weapons, or he has a crazy plan involving a lot of Banshees and a lot of Liberators. One way or the other, it's already turned into a very interesting game between these two. I think this has been a great matchup to see such a huge clash of styles.
Yeah, my biggest fear is that the Roaches, of course, are always going to be a threat before you get the extra factories up and running. But I do like +1 ship weapons because it allows Liberators to kill Queens in 2 shots. So normally it's about 3 because of the health regeneration. So I think that this definitely sets you up to do tremendous amounts of pressure to the Zerg player, since this map is kind of good for it. You have all these different cliffs behind all these mineral lines. But this attack that's going to come in, just even a little bit of pressure from Nerchio, can be very complicated because we don't have tanks, we don't have Cyclones, we don't have Banshees. It's just Hellions and Liberators right now.
Gotta watch out for those Liberators though, because they're in a pretty good position. However, one of them gets picked off immediately by that lovely little Ravager move. Hellbats are now in play.
Yeah.
This is wild already, but of course Hellbats are very vulnerable to potentially being picked off by that acidic bile there from the Ravager. Another Liberator
great kiting. It's just great kiting right now by Nerchio. He's actually getting a lot of work done here.
He really is.
Against Gumiho's army. 2 tanks are about to pop, but Medivacs as well. That's going to help a lot. But oh my goodness, because that Liberator.
Oh, he needs one more shot off to get that Liberator. You know, that would be a huge amount of resources lost. But the Liberator holds for the time being. Damage is being done though. You know, we're seeing an engineering bay going down. We're seeing SCVs getting killed here as well. What a patient play from Nerchio. You know, he endured a lot of early game shenanigans, and he calmly waited for his opportunity, realized his opponent's composition, and then took an opportunity while his opponent was mid-transition to do real damage.
I mean, having Medivacs with this mech style is something else that I like a lot. I think Gumiho is one of the players that in the Korean leagues against Terran has been kind of playing like mech with some Medivacs against Terran players to try and, you know, kind of jockey for positioning, since the tank drop is so strong that even if you're playing mech, you still want Medivacs just to be able to use that. Hellion Runby is going to go in towards this base. He sees the hive is on the way.
Oh my god.
So that's got to be like, okay, well
this is concerning. I mean, that's a lot of mules going down right here, and he's going to need it. But, of course, that's going to end up mining this area out pretty damn quickly. There is a 4th base coming up here for Gumiho, though, so bear in mind that the Zerg's been on 3 bases for quite some time. He's establishing a 4th now. Things are starting to even out a little bit, but Nerchio is posturing. He's got a basic army, but a big one.
This is a very scary force to engage. Like, you have so many different spaces where you can try to put pressure in, but he's got to use the cliffs to his advantage. He's got to use the tank drops to his advantage. He has to be careful about these rocks. He can be blocked out of his own natural expansion potentially here, or he could use it to try and buy space for his siege tanks. Either way, he's got the range to use it. Great pickups, dodging the corrosive biles. Very, very important as Roaches come in from that backside, but he's going into the natural expansion.
Losing that tank's pretty brutal. We saw actually a couple of Roaches and Ravagers getting flattened under the rocks here. Gumiho using the tank drop to his advantage to try and pick off as many of these Roaches as possible, but the economy is now under threat, and this +1 vehicle weapon upgrade is going to get cancelled.
That's every single upgrade is so important in this position. You need everything right now, and that was, it just sucks because it was so close to finishing up. So
it really was.
Gonna step back, gonna pick this off, and keep in mind he's still kind of isolated in a weird way. He has to use Medivacs to move everything between his bases because those rocks were knocked down.
Yeah.
And here comes the next big attack.
It is.
Oh my god, 3 drops as well.
Oh god, lord, that's absolutely ridiculous. Here come the Hellbats to try and counteract this attack. Nerchio backing off for the time being. He's ready with the drop overlords though. He's picking up.
And he's setting himself up for like a doom drop here. He scans the bottom right base. He's like, oh god, he's just got all his money now. Nerchio's a rich boy, and he's about to drop a ton of stuff on the production. I love this. Abusing the immobility of mech and just the strength of Zerg and Legacy of the Void, you know, and they made the individual Overlord drop upgrades. It's just so much cheaper and easier to get a big swath of them out.
And look what Gumiho's trying to do at the meantime. You know, he's stuck on his 3rd trying to get rid of these rocks, but a wave of Zerg just dropped from the sky into the middle of his main base on top of all of his production.
I think you do in this position is you just try to just focus down the factories, and then the Terran actually cannot build
He's just dropping the Hydralisks and Roaches on top of the tanks right now, and they're getting obliterated.
He's got Burrow move. He can dance these Roaches around all day long. He's destroyed, it looks like, one of the factories. He's inside the 3rd base of Gumiho. He's moving one of the drops over towards the northeast base. He's forcing him to pull all of these units around. He's going to lose another one of his factories.
What even is this? GG!
GG!
Ladies and gentlemen, Nurcio puts on a masterclass of patience and just unbelievably overwhelming play. Madness is a great description. It was nuts towards the end of that. How does any player deal with that degree of insanity?
I don't know. That's like one of the things when you talk about like, oh, why don't people go mech? It's like you talk about that sort of stuff, but then you actually see it. You're like, oh my goodness, like Nurcio destroyed him. And a lot of it came down to, I think, some very good plays by Nurcio. And, you know, a few things worked very well in his favor. The very first pressure by Gumiho, I felt, went very strong. But when he got the Liberators out, his first Liberator parked itself in range of a Spore Crawler. So, like, Gumiho already kind of, like, took a lot of the wind out of his own sails with that attack. Because, potentially, if that Liberator gets a few shots in, then I feel like we're looking at a situation where, okay, maybe he does a little bit more damage on that gold third or shuts it down or kills it. Then we see a scenario where he can build up enough off the back of that Nurcio can't make these big attacks where he pulls him in multiple different directions and, you know, destroys the mech army. So he created a lot of chaos, and chaos is what reigns when you have a very slow force that can only be in so many places at once.
That is very, very true, and, you know, it is a big part of the overall art of war, I think, is the best way to describe it. You know, just creating absolute chaos and putting his opponent in a position where planning just doesn't matter anymore.
I mean, you can kind of take it a little bit down to where it's like Gumiho did go for a highly unorthodox strategy, but I don't think that the strategy really played into why things went so wrong. Like, Nurcio played the map very well, using the area where he could set himself up for that drop. And I think that big doom drops like this are the perfect way to finish off mech players, because you're always thinking to yourself like, oh, well, I just turtle up, maybe build some turrets for my tanks so we can't drop on the army out front. And he says, look, I can just kill your factories. Factories are incredibly expensive and take an extremely long amount of time to build. Like, what are you going to do while it's dead? Like, nothing. You have zero production, because you usually don't have as many factories as barracks, right? So it's easier to kill more of them.
It was a wild strategy from Gumiho. I've got to give him credit for that, you know, and he was putting on so much pressure early on. What boggles my mind is the fact that Nurcio, despite the fact that he was looking like he was bending, he definitely did not break at that stage, and I think a lesser player would have, because that pressure was insane.
Yeah, that was it's one of those builds that's very hard to deal with. Like, you know, think about the success of, you know, players like 4GG when they were playing. Like, I mean, you build your career off of killing people with Hellions early on, right? You mix in Reapers and Legacy of the Void with that, and got a completely different thing going there as well. So that was it's one of those things that can just snowball so quickly into losing you the game as a Zerg player, that Nurcio's ability to remain stoic in that defense and then follow up with the counter aggression, it was brilliant.
Yeah, it really was. You've got to give him credit for that. I don't think any doubt should remain in the minds of people at this point, considering what just happened. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he does against his next opponent, because this is, let's just say, a bit of a blast from the past. Any ideas?
Bit by bit.
Not quite. Oh god, please don't remind me. This is one era versus another here, because his opponent is Stephano.
All right. Get our first ZVZ in a battle of the what you would say the era where Stephano was the best EU player, and right now the man on top, Nurcio.
Yeah, I mean, they have fought each other before, no doubt about it, but yeah, I think that era-wise, you know, Stephano was the dominant EU Zerg for one era, and Nurcio is currently the current era's dominant Zerg. It'll be interesting to see them clash. Right now, apparently you are not on the right server, so if you need just...
No, I'm in the channel.
Are you?
Yeah.
Ah, there you are.
There we go.
Excellent. Wonderful. Just making sure. I think they were confused by your stylish clan tag.
Yeah.
Well met. Yes.
Someone else took the Kappa clan on EU, so I went for well met instead.
Bastards. How dare they. I'm going to check if these guys are ready to go. It's going to be Nurcio versus Stephano and a Zerg versus Zerg. Currently, Nurcio is the king with 2 wins. Stephano has the chance to dethrone him, and I would never, ever count Stephano out in a Zerg versus Zerg. Ever.
No, that's one of those. It's a matchup where I think that the ability to kind of play around your opponent and get inside their head definitely has a lot more value than any other things, like, because ZVZ can just be so volatile with how scouting works in the early game, especially since everything ramps up before overlords can usually get scouts off, because you just start with so much economy in Legacy of the Void.
Yeah, you really do. So this is going to be a bit wild one way or the other. Will Stephano's experience in this matchup win out? Stephano's been looking pretty good lately, which is surprising because, of course, Stephano technically retired. But as we are well aware, retirement does not in any way matter in StarCraft 2. Nobody really retires.
Nobody steps away from this game for that long. It pulls you back in. It pulls everyone back in.
It really does. And Stephano smells money. And that's his favorite thing. To the northwest position in the Red Trunks playing Zerg, one of the top earners of all time. I believe the top earning foreigner, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
It's the one and only Stephano. Versus his opponent to the southeast position. From Team Euronix Gaming, he is the current king of the hill with 2 wins and $500 in the bank. In the Blue Trunks playing Zerg, he is Nurchio.
Stephano with the incredibly fast drone scout, taking no chances against aggression. But I mean, he's going to come in here, he's going to see, oh, you've already taken your gas, and your pool is done. And that's going to be interesting to see how he deals with it, considering that he went for a hatchery first. So holding your hatch first against something like this is difficult. But I would say even more so is dealing with the follow-up, which could be just mass speedling, could be speedling Bane, could be straight to Banelings. There's a lot of different madness, and yep, straight to Banelings is what it looks like. Nurchio is going to bring out the one base Banelim bust.
Indeed, and this could be a very, very short match indeed, one way or the other. Nurchio could be looking for a very easy $250 right here, but certainly would not count Stephano out. I think Nurchio just wants to end him quickly, however. He doesn't want to mess around with this. He wants to get onto the next map.
Gonna bring out the wheel of cheese here. This is Baneling S. Oh, we're halfway done. So the Lings make their way there. And I mean, this natural expansion can buy time for you, but because it's Banelings, the focus for Nurchio is going to be he wants to take a fight, and he wants to force that fight as soon as possible. Stephano has a spine crawler on the way. Honestly, if he knew exactly what was going on, like if he knew what we knew, and that this was a commitment without speed, I think you need another spine crawler. Okay, he's going to start one up, but I don't know if this one's going to be done in time. It's very important that he delays this attack as much as humanly possible.
It absolutely is. You know, he needs that spine. He needs to make sure he doesn't take an engagement against the Banes. He now sees them, so Stephano is going to have to back off here, possibly sacrifice that base. If he can pick a Baneling off for a couple of Lings, that's a great trade, and he gets one.
Very good snipe. The natural is not that big of a deal at the moment because, I mean, Nurchio's not expanding, so in ZVZ, it's more about not losing your drones than anything else. And if he can defend this and keep his natural,
I don't think he's going to lose that natural. Like, the queens are on the way, the spine's being positioned. Like, Stephano took an almost perfect engagement against that last Baneling. He lost a couple of Lings unnecessarily, but it wasn't too bad. And now Nurchio's like, oh god, this actually didn't really work, did it?
He's going to take that expansion. Oh, look at this. He's baiting him. He's baiting him, TB, into the bushes. The bushes where the Banelings are.
Oh, it's a hit and a half, and Nurchio tricks Stephano and obliterates the majority of Stephano's army. Suddenly the tables have turned, but there's still 2 spines, though. Like, that was nice, but...
Yeah, there's no speed. I mean, if you had speed, maybe you would just run by into the main base and right-click a few drones.
Yeah.
But just having a Baneling nest isn't going to give that to you, so I'd say that's... a good consolation for Nurchio's early aggression, and Stephano's like, well, I've got my natural so much faster. I can inject that with the queens that I built. And I'd say if you're Stephano, you have to be very happy with how this game has started.
I mean, I think so. You know, with a lot of people kind of writing Stephano off out of the gate just because of how dominant Nurchio is right now, I think that there's hopefully... It silenced a few critics for the time being. You know, it's always interesting to see a sort of part-time player turn up in a tournament like this with world-class guys and see whether or not he can still hang. And so far, he's doing pretty damn well. You know, ZVZ was a matchup that he was dominant in for a long time, despite the fact that he claimed he was terrible at it, which was a complete lie.
Well, I mean, we also have to remember in Stephano's time, there were also those moments where we got to see, or at least in Heart of the Swarm when he was still playing the what was it? He had like a couple multiple hour long games with Stephano versus Betrayus at Lone Star Clash. The Swarm hosts on King Station.
It was a bit painful, honestly.
Dark times. Dark times.
It was. Roach Warren's coming out on both sides, already complete here for Stephano. Stephano looking strong in terms of his economy with a couple of worker lead, and this hatchery is still alive. It's still vulnerable, but, you know, it would be a big commitment to try and take it out right now, and I don't think we're going to see that from Nurcio anytime soon.
Stephano and Nurcio both looking to secure the third base. Doesn't look like either of them are going to spring up for that lair just yet. They don't want to take the risk of making the investment into tech and then getting blindsided by a big wave of roaches. So going into ling speed for Stephano with Carapace. Maybe he's... I'm wondering if he just wants to try to use that to put pressure on the third. I don't think it's really going to be done in time and to be able to get anything meaningful done to the third base. But
no, I don't
lair
think
is
so.
on the way now for Nurcio.
Yeah, we'll see the Carapace coming up, so I expect to see Stephano putting up quite a few roaches. I mean, that has been Stephano's style for years now. You know, hold down the R button and then win.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I was thinking about the Zerglings a little too much, but the Carapace will help with the roaches' survivability against Zerglings tremendously.
It will, certainly. And the question is, who is going to be getting the upper hand from this position? Because right now, everything is looking fairly even for the most part, but I think that +1 Carapace may very well come into play in a big way. I'm interested to see what Stephano does with lair tech when he decides to build it, because right now he hasn't done that, and lair's just about done here for Nurcio.
Yeah, so I mean, this kind of tells me with the Carapace, right, that it should be a big attack coming in from Stephano. Like, nothing else really makes sense, because otherwise he could have very easily gotten his lair, just like Nurcio did. And if he waits too long now, Nurcio's going to be getting that +1. He can go into +2. And then also, there's the problem where Nurcio can just get, like, Roach speed. And once you have Roach speed, if you lose a fight, you can't run away because, well, your units are very slow.
You know, what's interesting about this is that Stephano taking out 2 of these Overlords has actually severely supply blocked his opponent.
Oh, my goodness, you're right.
And he's going to get way more, too, if he's able to get these shots off. Slightly misses that one, unfortunately. He actually ended up hitting his own lings, though, in the process, which is not ideal. But that is going to delay some of the reinforcements here from Nurcio, and down come the Ravager shots.
Yeah, it looks like he was trying to get the lings with the wraparound on top of this force so that he could get the corrosive biles on top of everything, spreading his Ravagers against the roaches, and Stephano is getting a lot of work done here against Nurcio's army.
He absolutely is, and again, we're going to see more. It's a
triple kill!
Huge supply block right there. That's a major deal. You know, it's not what you usually consider in this matchup, but right now, Stephano's going to take the third and get out, and his opponent can't really counterattack.
Oh my god. The amount of Overlords that have died this game.
What a move.
He's killed 5 Overlords of Nurcio's, and he's got these spines, but he's got the corrosive biles. He can hit the spines and the roaches at the same time with the bile. He's got the lings to support. He's got everything he needs to back this up, and I mean, he's got Nurcio cornered. What can he do?
He really does. And, you know, and that lair tech hasn't really benefited Nurcio yet. You know, the Roach Warren is building the upgrade, but it may even go down to corrosive bile. As long as Stephano doesn't overcommit here, I think he's in a phenomenal position. I mean, it's 3 base versus 2.
This is a really scary spot to be in. I mean, the +1 attack will be really nice when it finishes, but I think like it might just be a little bit too late. The bile's all over the roaches.
Devastating shot! My god, and that upgrade's not going to be done. He's not going to get Roach speed. He's not going to get any benefit really out of this lair. And Stephano proving that retirement means nothing in StarCraft 2.
A phenomenal defense against Nurcio's early aggression and a beautiful follow-up with this Roach Ravager attack. Stephano absolutely rolling over the DreamHack champion. GG.
The dream is dead right now. Stephano is back, and he picks off the king. And a very unexpected result, I think, for quite a few people.
That's so sick. Deals with the 12-pool Baneling rush.
Oh my god, he did it so well,
first.
too.
It's insane to think that he holds this attack, and it's like, I'm just looking at the build order, and it's like, Stephano's spawning pool goes down at 1 minute and 8 seconds, and Nurcio's started at 18 seconds into the game. The first thing he built, and he still defended it without losing the hatch. That's world class right there.
Yeah, let's not forget that Stephano was once the best in the world, and that doesn't disappear very quickly. He is an active player again. He is by no means retired. And by the looks of it, he is looking to claim a little bit of cash money in this tournament. And we've got plenty to give out, so I'm happy to give him some money, especially for a performance like that.
And he's always one of those players that I think a lot of the people tuning in love to see play as well. He's part of the old guard at this point as far as the foreigners go, and he's been practicing a lot more for these tournaments that he's been playing. And I think it was like at Home Story Cup, I actually got to talk to him about it, and he's like, yep, he's actually trying to get really good again. He's been practicing an insane amount, so being able to see games like this is always awesome, and I'm very happy that we're just getting such a show today. It's so good.
It's wild, man. We're getting unexpected results, we're getting streaks, we're getting unexpected players. Hopefully this is an exciting show for all of you. Apparently the viewer count says so because we're over 20,000 viewers. I think the last online tournament that did that was mine. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for all your support, guys. I really appreciate that. That's way more than I expected for this event. So hopefully you guys are having as much fun as we are, because this is wild and we're by no means done yet. There are still 2 incredible players in this block, and I have 8 more after that. So this is going to be great. I can't wait to see what's going to happen here, because this next matchup is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Very, very excited to see who comes up next to challenge Stephano.
Who will make it happen is the question. There are so many that could. There are so many that might. But I think doubts in the mind of people after watching that.
Yeah, there's been some madness. There's been some real madness. It's been great to see the foreigners taking games off of the Koreans as well. I think people always love seeing the competitiveness between those two sides. Who is it gonna we riding the foreigner train still here on the next opponent, or what?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. We might, but you never know. You'd love to know, though, wouldn't you? I've been keeping it secret. I love that this power that I can lord over you, Nathanias, is wonderful.
That's great. I get to experience the feeling of being one of the helpless fools in the chat that just doesn't know.